Good evening and thank you for joining us for KREM 2 News 10 at 10, where we give you more news in less time. Let's get started. New tonight, Idaho lawmakers are considering a move to bring back the firing squad as a way to execute people on death row. The state has been unable to get the drugs needed for lethal injections. KREM 2's Kyle Simchuk spoke to a legal expert tonight who says the bill could face challenges if it's passed. Kyle?
Well, and this bill still has a way to go. It passed through a committee and now heads to the House floor for a vote. But if it becomes law, will this method of execution be constitutional? One Gonzaga professor I spoke with tonight has her doubts. Last December, the state of Idaho had no choice but to call off the execution of Gerald Pizzuto, who was sentenced to death for the 1985 murders of a woman and her nephew during a robbery at a remote cabin near McCall. The problem was that the Department of Corrections was unable to get a hold of the lethal injection drugs they needed. It's a problem that persists today.
The companies that do make this drug are European countries, and they're no longer willing to sell it to the United States, as they have been for nearly 10 years now.
Wandalyn Taylor is a visiting assistant professor at Gonzaga and has worked on over 177 death penalty cases across the country. She says another problem states face with lethal injections is that many doctors aren't willing to participate.
Some of the doctors are saying, hey, it's already a problem because our Hippocratic oath says we can't do any harm. And so this is why the firing squads become that other backup method, because it doesn't require a medical professional to administer that.
Idaho banned firing squads more than a decade ago, but some lawmakers want to bring them back as an alternative method for execution when lethal injection drugs are not available.
A firing squad is made up of individuals from the Department of Corrections who would have volunteered to participate in that death process.
Utah was the last state to execute a person using a firing squad, which is also an option in Mississippi, Oklahoma, and South Carolina. But Taylor believes it poses a constitutional problem.
We have these rules about unnecessary, unwanted, this freakish pain. And so if we cannot establish this dying with dignity that is also part of the Eighth Amendment and meet these benchmarks around pain, then we have not only failed the individual who's on the other side of this firing squad, we've also failed ourselves, because we agreed on this Constitution and we can't start making discounts for the rights of people just because of our own personal feelings.
8 people are currently on death row in Idaho, and with the recent murder of 4 University of Idaho students, the topic is now top of mind for many people in the state, including lawmakers. In Spokane, Kyle Simchuk, KREM 2 News.
Well, tonight we've obtained new documents from Pennsylvania State Police related to the investigation into the murder of 4 University of Idaho students. The documents list items that investigators recovered from the family home of the suspect, Brian Koberger. Among the items investigators collected are 3 knives, including a pocket knife and a kitchen knife, a handgun and 3 empty magazines, a laptop, and a black mask and gloves. Investigators also released what they found in the suspect's car. Those items include a comfort in-room key holder, a shovel, a pair of goggles, and a reflective vest. For a full breakdown of those documents and what investigators found, just head to our website. That's KREM.com.
Guilty verdict.
After just 3 hours of deliberations, a jury found Alex Murdaugh guilty of all 4 counts, including the murder of his wife Maggie and his son Paul, along with 2 counts of possession of a weapon during a crime. Those charges carry a potential penalty of up to 30 years to life. During the trial, the once prominent lawyer took the stand in his own defense, insisting he did not kill his wife and 22-year-old son, but he did admit to stealing millions of dollars from his clients and firm. He also admitted that he lied when he told investigators he hadn't been at the crime scene shortly before the murders. Murdaugh is due back in court tomorrow for his sentencing hearing. All right, switching gears, we now may be in the meteorological spring, but winter does not appear to be going anywhere, at least anytime soon. Let's check in now with Chief Meteorologist Jeremy Legoo for more on what we can expect in the days to come. Jeremy?
Well, Mark, it's going to be kind of more of what we saw today, but thankfully a little less snow even down here in low elevations. Right now, temperatures sit at 30 degrees. Not all that bad here in Spokane, but wind is now dying down. As the wind dies down, so do our temperatures. We're going to fall back into the 20s, but notice by 11 a.m., we're back to the breezy side of things. Not quite as windy as we were today, but still a little bit breezy nonetheless. Still have those winter weather advisories and winter storm warnings over mountain passes. Tons of snow in the Cascade, feet to be exact. Lookout Pass looking at another few inches of snow. And boy, did we see some snow earlier in Sandpoint. Almost 2 inches fell in a very short period of time, creating all sorts of problems. Thankfully, we're done with that, and things are looking much better out there. A few scattered showers persist overnight, and tomorrow we'll see a little bit more of that activity, but this is just kind of it. Scattered showers in the days to come, and that's what takes us through the weekend. But notice those afternoon highs, near 40 every day, means we're going to continue the snow melt that we already started.
All right, sounds good, Jeremy. We'll check back in with you later in the show. Well, WSU women's basketball made history tonight, upsetting number 3 ranked Utah in the Pac-12 quarterfinals today. Sports director Travis Green joining us live in the studio with more on tonight's big win. Travis?
Hey, Mark, a historic win tonight. The highest ranked opponent WSU women have ever beaten, and they did so at the best possible time. Let's get you all caught up on how it happened. Cami Etheridge and crew out in Vegas for a trip to the Pac-12 tourney semifinals. The third quarter, everything coming together. Bella Mercatete starting things off. She would score 6 straight points for WSU. She finished with a team high 19. Later in the third, Cougs would catch fire from three-point land. Ula Motuga had 3 triples here, one of the biggest to give WSU a 47-41 lead. Now Utah would come back in this one to make it close late, but all Pac-12er Charlize Ledger-Walker would close the door with 10 seconds left. She buries maybe the biggest shot of her career there. That made it 64-58. The Cougs pull off the upset in Vegas, 66-58 the final, and now have 21 wins in the season, the most in program history. On to the semis.
They're doing things that we've never done before, so you just got to give them so much credit. But they're serious about their basketball and where they want to go and what they want to do. And my biggest thing is let's not settle now. Let's go do something else we haven't done ever before. So.
Everybody in the pack is a different type of style almost, so I think switching gears mentally as well is going to be vital for us. Just kind of believing in ourselves that we can win against anybody here, and that's what we're here to do.
And they now await the winner of tonight's Colorado and Oregon State game. That one's going on right now. Later in sports, we'll have Washington State men's basketball facing the hated Huskies, Mark.
Oh, looking forward to that, Travis. By the way, go Cougs. Way to go tonight. All right, now to our night beat with a quick look at today's top stories. New numbers from the Washington Department of Commerce show the state will need to step up production of new housing. The research shows the state needs to add more than 1 million homes in the next 2 decades. Those housing projections released today show that more than 50,000 new units need to be added every year to keep up with the projected population growth. Now, to give you some context, right now about 45,000 units are added every year. The Department of Commerce says more than half of the needed units should be affordable for the lowest income levels. In other news, after an hours-long standoff this morning, Spokane police arrested a person suspected of robbing a man at gunpoint. Police say the victim met a woman at the casino and was invited back to this apartment complex at around 8 this morning. And that's where they say he was robbed at gunpoint by several individuals. The Spokane Police Department responded to the Go-Go Apartments in North Spokane. Police arrested a 22-year-old in connection to that robbery. An Idaho judge has ruled that Lori Vallow and her husband, Chad Daybell, will now get separate trials. The two are charged in the murders of Vallow's 2 children and Daybell's late wife. The case has made headlines all around the world. Daybell's attorney has requested the trials be split based on new DNA evidence that needs to be tested. Both have pleaded not guilty to the charges against them. And that was your Night Beat. To learn more about any of these stories, just text us the word night to 509-448-2000 and we'll send them directly to your phone. Well, in the wake of the murders of 4 University of Idaho students, House lawmakers voted today to give the university an extra $1 million. The money would go to U of I for the unexpected expenses and increased security on campus following the murders. The university also shared a list of how the money has been spent and will be used through the end of the school year. Supplemental funding in the House Bill 222 would come from the state's general fund.
There are many expenses incurred in something like that we never think about every day in terms of how a university deals with that. There were, of course, tremendous security issues, counseling issues that came along.
The University of Idaho has to submit a report specifically detailing how they spent the money to the Legislative Services Office by August 1st. If the university needs more money in the future, they'll revisit those costs with the legislature at a later time. The bill now heads to the Senate for consideration.